Well. We got some unique perspectives on the data that forms the very lifeblood of our industry. I hope you guys found that as insightful as I did. But we have to continue on. We can't just talk data all day, can we? So I'm going to give Seg a break, and we're going to do another fireside chat. I don't really know why it's called that. There's no fire in here, but it's going to be nice and intimate, just the same. This one's going to be the plate is, all right, I don't want to phrase this. This is starring, I guess, he's going to be up here, the plate of spaghetti that haunts my streams. You know him as the assistant. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you got to watch my show some more, GM Sonic. There's my plug for the day. But he goes by the assistant, and he works strategy and BD for Sonic Labs. And he's going to be joined by Antoine from Euler Labs. So this is going to be a really good one. We're going to have a meeting of the minds. And they're going to discuss the Euler experience and how it works in tandem with the Sonic experience. So please welcome the assistant and Antoine. There he is. Antoine, you're going to do...
Hello. Hi, everybody. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to Vienna. A lot of you flew pretty far to be here, and we really appreciate you attending and listening to us talk about online internet money. So thank you. First, I'll start off by introducing Antoine. I met Antoine before. He's a great guy, and we've been working pretty closely together over the past few months when it comes to growing the money market landscape on Sonic and Euler. Well, actually, let me slow down for a second. I think the question that everybody wants to know is it Euler or is it Euler?
It is Euler technically, but we love when you say Euler, because then we can correct you.
Okay. That's fair enough. I mean, I think it's just gotten to the point now that anyone can call it whatever they want and it doesn't even matter. So throughout this conversation, I will continue calling it Euler and Euler just because I will simply just forget what I'm saying. So, yeah, we've been working pretty closely together, like I said, to build the money market landscape, and you as well as Joshua from Silo and the Aave team have been very important to building up, USDC supply on Sonic, which all of these things are super important. Obviously, as Michael Kong announced earlier, we have native USDC issuance coming onto Sonic, and the reality is that getting native USDC issuance isn't as easy as you think. It's not that we just call up Circle and we say, hey, we want to pay you guys. Can you please deploy Circle native USDC? I wish it was that easy. It is definitely not, and it takes a lot of work. But what makes it easier is having reputable applications, specifically lending markets on the chain, where USDC can be utilized and grow the supply in the sense that where users are trusting the asset, users are trusting the application, and therefore a plethora of funds are flowing into the landscape to be deposited on applications such as Euler, and that's kind of what helped us to get native USDC issuance. So thank you for being on Sonic. Without money markets like Aave, Euler, Silo, and others, we would have not been able to scale the amount of USDC that we have. And if we didn't have the scale of USDC, we'd have never had native issuance. So everyone has done their part so far. So thank you so much for having a good application where users feel confident to deposit funds and participate in Sonic. So we have some questions written. I hate written questions, but we'll just start with the written questions and then just transition into a very casual conversation. The first question is, can you give us a summary of Euler and what makes it unique?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks everyone for being here. Thanks, Matt, and the whole Sonic team for the support since day one. I would say what makes Euler really unique, if you need to remember one thing, Euler is a lending protocol. But what makes it really unique is that it's the most flexible out there. So what does it mean? It means that you can very easily create a very simple market, let's say with an isolated pair, say with USDCE or USDC on Sonic when it's there, or a much more complex market with 50 assets that are collaterals and borrows like Aave, for example, and any combination between these two things. So you can really decide on which assets are a borrow, which assets are collateral, which assets are both, LTVs, oracles, caps, anything you want. And this has allowed us to enable managers, creators, and builders on top of others to create markets for every use case. Going long, short, blue chips, leverage yield strategies, RWAs and everything. And this was especially interesting and useful when we launched on Sonic, because straight away our partners could build the markets that were fit for the assets that were on Sonic at launch, and then make these markets evolve as new assets exist on Sonic.
So when you say your partners, just to clarify, these are like vault curators, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I guess the next question I have is, like, I haven't asked you this, and I haven't asked anyone this, and to be honest, the curation thing is still kind of always confusing to me. But what is your experience when it came to like the conversation that you had to go to? I think like RE7, MEV Capital, like a bunch of other people you work with. How did the conversation go when you say like, "Hey guys, we want you to build, you want you to come to Sonic because like blank"? Like, what was the factor of like, yes, of course, money has to do with it, incentives. But from what we're seeing is that there is demand to come to Sonic beyond just incentives, beyond the airdrop. We're kind of cultivating a new, let's say, like ethos where we are really encouraging that builder forward mentality. So I'm curious, how were you able to convince these guys? They're not by default just deploying wherever you are, right? There's a conversation.
I mean, the interesting thing is that in the case of Sonic, it's not us that had to convince them, it's them that were telling us, "Hey guys, you have to deploy on Sonic, we have to be there day one with you."
Okay.
And it's not only the creators, it's the asset issuers, it's managed vault providers, etc. And I'm not saying this to make you happier and flatter because we're in Vienna at the summit, but like for really great and an ecosystem with a lot of potential, this is usually what happens.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, what's really cool with the guys you mentioned and all the other creators we work with is that we've known them for a while. A lot of them were using Euler during V1. We constantly talk with them, exchange ideas, and try to understand where what are the ecosystems that are going to grow and that are going to be there in the long term. And we can get back to that later. What's so unique about Sonic, but we've really seen an amount of activity on Sonic that is really, I can say that far exceeds, if you think about it, like maybe the number of incentives that have been, and the number of the level of incentives, etc., that has been provided. So this means that is there, and we will know it here. There's real DeFi activity on Sonic, which is not the case everywhere.
Yeah, I think that it's something to pay attention to where when we were having the conversations of bringing on notable money markets, the conversation, let's say 6 months ago, is very different from what it was now in regards to Euler, which is like something that we were just talking about backstage, which is Euler had experienced a large exploit maybe 2 years ago with almost all funds lost, right? And people were kind of like, those guys are still around, like, should we still work with them, and what's going on there, and what are they doing? And the reality of the situation is that we weren't in too far of a similar predicament ourselves. I mean, after multi-chain, we had essentially just lost all trust with our community, all trust with partners, all trust with exchanges, and everyone was just, people had been harmed. And we made it our priority, especially when I joined the team, was to like be very upfront with people, be very transparent with them, and give everyone kind of the benefit of the doubt, because we're not perfect and mistakes were made along the way. And I think that's where Sonic and Euler are like symbiotic in a way, where we've been down the same path, we're rebuilding, we currently have exponential growth. It's undeniable. You guys, I believe you're over 1 billion TVL?
Yeah, in total deposit, it's 1.5 billion.
1.5 billion. So you guys went from 0 to 1.5 billion very quickly after a very tragic event. And same thing for us. I mean, we're around $1 billion in TVL. And I don't need to tell you, like you already know, it's a lot of work. Not only to build an application and like the actual technology behind it, but just like reputationally and just building back and having those old conversations with people and them still having the history in the back of their head. It's definitely not easy. And we work every single day. It's kind of like we have like a scar. And it's made things really difficult for us, but the only way to get over that is what we're doing right now on both of our teams, which is overcoming kind of this negative stigma of like, oh, you had an issue before, that means you're done forever. It's the complete opposite of that. So I applaud you and your team. It's very easy to give up in Web3, and people give up every single day, whether it's like regulatory reasons or financial reasons or community or mental reasons, whatever. So again, I applaud you. Congratulations on your success. Thank you for coming to build on Sonic, and I think it's like a great story that the chain that was dead and the application that was also dead are both thriving together.
Yeah, I mean, thanks a lot, and kudos to you guys as well. What you said is really true about, I think, the team factor, right? I mean, I joined Euler after the hack, and I can tell you, I've never been in a project or in a company or whatever you wanna call it that has this kind of this unique like company culture and resilience.
Do you think the hack made the culture stronger?
I think it was already really good before, from what I know. But the hack and the fact that everyone stayed. I mean, Alicia, that was there during the hack as well, our head of marketing, can tell you how things were. But I think living through such a moment, really makes the company truly like a family that is ready to go through even harder things. About the relationships and the trust, I think we started rebuilding the trust with the whole community from the moment of the incident and onwards, and we never stopped.
Yeah.
We never stopped being in contact with.
I think people know that. People have noticed that it's not like you guys went radio silent and just
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the worst thing to do.
We kept being in contact with all of the players, with the market, with the LPs, with the projects, understanding what's going on, and this was through the rebuild of Euler V2. And even when we relaunched Euler V2, it wasn't as easy as, it's like you said, and when you just launch and you don't have TVL, no one wants to be first to come in. And slowly but surely, we continued through all the work we had done during the rebuild phase. And now we see the vast majority of players that were using the app before being extremely active. And back to your point about the feedback, we hear more and more, partners, LPs, people we integrate with, seeing the fact that we went through an exploit and recovered as something even more positive than never been through an exploit like before, because they know that the team knows how to react on such things, and also that, and you guys are the same, we've put unparalleled effort in security and everything so that to mitigate.
It's horrible as it sounds. I think that having these like traumatic experiences beyond the tech, it just makes the team stronger to be able to make more better calculated decisions when it comes to the overall decision-making process. Is now like in the back of your head, everything. It's like, should we get the cheaper audit? And it's like, no, we should probably go with the better audit. Should we continue working with this person? They're like a little bit unreliable. It's like, no, let's get the best person possible. And I think that's what we've been able to do at Sonic, which is like learn from the past in all regards and just do whatever we can to like maintain staying focused on the fundamentals. If you're able to stay focused on fundamentals, you can pretty much get through anything in this industry. It gets really hard sometimes, Twitter is a brutal place, super brutal. But we're pretty thick-skinned and we're prepared to fight through it. Sorry. So another question is, how do you see DeFi growing, and are there any and what are the opportunities and the current challenges, and how can we, as an application and a chain, how can we contribute to overall DeFi?
Yeah, so this is a great question, and I think we're probably both in a similar spot there. So when we relaunched, really our goal and objective was to regain, market share and trust.
Yeah.
So focusing on the native DeFi ecosystem and try to perform really well there, which you guys have done and we've done as well. Now, the issue that I see right now is that you look at the total TVL across protocols, across everything. On DeFi Llama, it's much less than in the last cycle, and there's 20 times more apps and chains and what have you, right? So really now our priority is to understand how we can expand distribution beyond the existing DeFi ecosystem.
How are you going to do that? Like, what's the future like?
So very, very simple stuff, like try to integrate natively with wallets, with custodians. So
Okay.
custodians, the ones that handle more institutional
So they have direct
players.
access.
Yeah, and like these are conversations that were really science fiction a while ago, and that now start becoming more and more real. Fintechs as well, the ones that accept crypto and the big players out there. So we start having specific and concrete talking points with them, which, as I told you, didn't happen before.
Yeah.
And then all of the institutional players that are slowly coming in. So really trying to focus on that right now. And I think if you have an app that serves a fundamental use case, as you said, and has good user experience, which is the case with Sonic.
Yeah,
right?
your app is very good on Sonic. It's super fast.
Yeah, exactly. And why do people use Sonic? Because it's fast, it's easy, and it's cheap.
Yep.
I think with these fundamentals, we can go for that for the world outside of the existing DeFi system.
So what do you think, like, in the future, like, are we going to see, like, a larger, like, maybe publicly traded curator or something? Like, right now, most of the curators are pretty niche.
Yeah.
But are we going to see, like, do you anticipate, you don't have to give an exact answer, but, like, in the future of curators in general, do you see there being, like, a BlackRock getting involved in DeFi and curating vaults, or any other type of, like, asset manager kind of throwing their hat in and getting more involved in the DeFi, like, asset management part?
Yeah, possibly. I think we'll go there, but I don't think this will be the most fundamental and transformational thing we need to see. What we need to see is an app like Revolut, or a fintech app, or a credit card offering yield that comes from DeFi, or leverage capability that come from DeFi, and the user's not even knowing that it comes from DeFi. Then whether it's BlackRock or RE7 or whoever that's creating the market in the back, as long as they're doing a good job, it doesn't really matter. And also, I mean, what I really see as being the reality of all these things, whether it's retail distribution through fintechs or institutional distribution, is that there's not going to be one app or one curator that takes all the business because they sign an exclusive deal, blah, blah, blah. Like, if you want to manage risk properly there, you need to spread the risk across protocol.
Yeah.
So this one, Sonic, is really good that you guys have Aave, that you have the Silo guys, that you have Euler and other builders that come, because you always need to offer this diversification capability.
Yeah, I mean, the analogy that I always like to use for crypto is, like, people tend to think that there needs to be, like, the killer, like, this killer dApp, and like everyone needs to use this app, and it's like, but for me, this just sounds like more risk. And the analogy I always use is, like, it's a very American of me, but I say, like, there isn't just McDonald's, and that's, like, the only fast food place. Like, some people like getting Big Macs from McDonald's, but, like, fries from Burger King, and, like,
exactly.
There can be a bunch of different chains, a bunch of different protocols, and you might like one offering that one has and one offering that another has. But the beauty is that essentially everything in comparison to 4 or 5 years ago is, like, everything is so interoperable now cross-chain, like, thanks to Layer 0 and Chainlink and all these other, like, interoperability providers, where you'll be able to eventually just be able to farm yield or deposit on one chain, and you won't even realize, and you're just getting, like, maximizing all of your yield. So Sonic being the fastest EVM chain currently, it's something where we're leveraging it with all of our applications to essentially build something where they can be able to use the tools that Michael had announced earlier, which is, like, native account abstraction, gas subsidy, dynamic fees, and fee monetization as though it's like being a suite of tools to then be able to create this environment like you're mentioning where it's just very seamless and you don't even realize you're interacting with DeFi. The ideal situation is that somebody is able to come to any application, like lending market for, let's say, and deposit and earn yield and have no idea they're even spending gas. That's the only way. I think gas is the biggest barrier for most people. Most people don't even know what gas is. And when you see people, they say like, oh, 7% of the world is invested in crypto. It's like, yeah, the other 93% have no idea what crypto is. And when they do find out about it, once you mention this thing of gas to them, they're like, wait, what? I have to like pay gas? This is so weird. But we're gonna get to a point where that's kind of completely separated, and applications like yours and a chain like Sonic, which is very high throughput and seamless, will start to thrive. So I think we're out of time. Or maybe we have 1 more minute they added. Maybe anyone wants to ask a question or something. Maybe no one has asked a question before, so. Anyone have a question, Sonic related, Euler related?
Love you, man.
I don't know who you are, but hi.
I love you too.
Well, look, I think the best way for us to wrap this up is trust teams who have been through the thick of it. Trust teams that have learned their lesson. If you see a team that is new to the scene and they're just kind of pounding their chest talking about all of these things, but they never have been through a situation like Euler or us at Sonic, just take a step back and just think like this could get really bad. And in our case, we've learned a lot and we've taken those lessons and we've been able to come back. And failure is a part of building, and if you do fail, don't be afraid to just kind of get up and just keep it moving. Hey, you have a question? Hi.
What we've seen is historically, right? Fast chains, cheap chains generally attract a lot of users and developers, so that's great. On the flip side, in crypto right now, yield farming is super high priority, right? We're getting great yields out there. So how do we blend fast chains, high frequency trading, which arbitrage, which reduces the yield very quickly, because ultimately everybody's constantly moving their funds around to drop the yield with high yields to again attract more users. How do you balance that?
I have a good answer for you, but the time is up. However, the next panel, or the next fireside, is with Veda, who does exactly what you said. So it would be a perfect answer. So thank you so much, and we will answer it immediately. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, bro.
It's all right, it's cool.